Hey guys, although this woman needs absolutely no introduction, please let me take this opportunity to gush about her anyway. She dominated the Australian heavy music scene as your frontwoman of Pagan for years, and now a Norwegian local fronting death pop legends Blood Command. I can't actually tell you how keen I am to be chatting with her. Please welcome the absolute queen that is Nikki Brumen of Blood Command.
Oh, thank you. I love that introduction.
Hell
That made
yeah.
me excited.
Hype woman, that's what I'm here for. It seems kind of redundant to talk about the last few years with most people, but your entire life has changed since 2020. Pagan called it quits. You played their last shows in early 2020. You then spent most of that year enduring lockdowns in Australia, only to announce in mid 2021 you'd been asked to front up Blood Command. You released a ripper single and then proceeded to move over to Norway, start playing shows, and release more music. I mean, honestly, that is a bloody journey.
I'm glad you appreciate that it's a journey.
Hell yeah. And I know I just pretty much summed it all up really, really quickly, but can you run us through the last few years for you and I guess how you're feeling now about your incredibly different but bright future?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the way you summed it up was perfect. The timeline was absolutely accurate. So when Pagan, my old band from Melbourne, played our last show in February of 2020, I didn't know on that last show what my future held at all. I had no backup plan with music, but I knew I really wanted to play in another band. But I also had this thing in my head where I didn't really want to go through the um the trouble of starting from
From
scratch
fresh,
because
yeah.
I'd built and there's nothing wrong with that. And if I had to do it from scratch, I would have. But I'd already built sort of like this network and a little bit of a name for myself. So I really was putting it out to the universe that I wanted something that was kind of already established.
Yeah, perfect.
And that came in the form of me opening my phone one day and looking on Facebook Messenger and getting a message from an Ingvar Anderson, really Scandinavian name. I was like, I have no idea even how to pronounce the name Ingvar. Took me a while to figure that out. And he said, "Hi, my name's Ingvar. I play guitar for Blood Command. I'm the primary producer and songwriter of the band as well. I have a proposition for you. What are you doing now that Pagan's over?" And I responded telling him that I was still sort of getting my feet back on the ground and looking around for, friends who wanted to jam and if there were any openings for singers. And he asked me to be the new singer of Blood Command. And immediately I said yes. I'd had a lot of stuff happen in my life that was very traumatic at that time. Both of my parents had died in a really short
Oh my
period of
God,
time.
Nikki, I'm so sorry
And
to hear that.
oh no, that's okay. I feel like and I only bring it up because it's really important as to why I said yes, because
Yeah,
I
of
think
course.
if they hadn't have both died in a really short time frame, it wouldn't have made me think, life is really short. I
Yeah.
just want to jump into the deep end with the music stuff, and I want to throw caution to the wind and just give this band a go. you know, Call me crazy. I'd never met any of the band members. So, I'd been to Norway once just on holiday for 3 weeks, like 10 years before.
Oh my
But
God.
I'd also fallen in love with Norway, and Bergen, where Blood Command are based, was my favorite city that I'd ever been to. I said, one day I want to live here. So it was just like this really weird fate thing for me. And I said yes instantly. And then we went into lockdown the world went into lockdown, and Melbourne in particular went into a really strict lockdown. So, and Australians weren't able to get out of the country.
Yeah.
So, for a year and a half, we kept in contact. We recorded an album with me in Melbourne and them in Bergen. We released a single with me in Melbourne and them in Bergen. And then finally, by the time I got my travel exemption to go overseas, I'd never met my band, and I went to Norway and I had booked my tour, and the trip and everything was for 4 months, and I got there and I'm still in the band and we're all best friends and the rest is history. It was the best thing I've ever done.
Oh my,
Craziest thing I've ever done, but best thing I've ever done by far.
I love that. And I love that, like, you just went, you know what, like, this is right. It sounds like some crazy, like, serendipity shit to just be like, this was my favorite place there, and they're all from there, and like,
Totally.
stars align. I absolutely love that. And how has it been
Yeah.
kind of jumping into, I know you mentioned you really wanted to jump into like an established act, and you've all become best friends and you live there, and that's so beautiful. But what was it like, I guess, the difference between, like, you know, rising something from the ground up to, like, to coming into something that, you know, they already had a name for themselves, and obviously they welcomed you with open arms and they asked you to join, but how has that been different for you?
It was a really flattering offer to get because, you know, I was also a fan of Blood Command when, like years before they asked me to join. And I had written an article for Kerrang! Music magazine
Yep.
in the UK, and they'd asked me like my top 5 bands of maybe 2018 when Pagan was still together. And I actually included Blood Command and one of their songs off Cult Drugs, which was their 2017 album. I'd included one of their songs in this article and
I
said, you know,
love
one day I hope,
that.
yeah, like it's really crazy. And I said they sound like a pop version of Pagan.
Yes.
And so when they asked me to join, I was pretty nervous because I thought of them as a really amazing band, and their ex-vocalist, um, she had a really good singing voice, and I was nervous about doing clean vocals.
Of course, yeah.
So the bar was really high. So my initial response was, hell yes, I want to do this, but also, oh no, I've got a lot of work to do. Because
Yeah.
I knew going on tour, I'd have to learn a lot of their back catalogue. And then I'd also been sent the album that they had recorded already with their previous singer. And then she left the band. So they wanted me to record the entire new album,
No
which is
pressure.
Praise Armageddonism. I know, which is Praise Armageddonism, which we're releasing on July the 1st of this
Oh,
year.
we are going to get to that. I'm very excited to chat about it.
Yeah, so that album was already written with her vocal, or it was actually already mastered. So I
Wow.
was sent the master, and I thought, oh my God, this is crazy. I've got to re-record all of these vocals. But listening to it, I didn't feel intimidated, and I really try not to compare myself to other people. I'm supportive of other musicians, and I don't like to be competitive in the music industry. I think it's a waste of energy. So I just focus on myself. And I just think if I work hard and if I really, I'm talking like singing lessons twice a week, vocal training 5 times a week. I was doing that so that I knew by the time I got to the studio and by the time I got to do the tour, that I couldn't have any regrets because I'd worked my ass off. So yeah, initial response was I put a lot of pressure on myself because I wanted it to be good, and because I knew Blood Command were an amazing band, but they could be even better with a vocalist who was really comfortable on stage and who was really comfortable in themselves. So I knew if they had that it would just raise the bar even higher and make the standard of the band even higher. And I think now I've been able to prove that to myself and to the band, which has been really special.
I love that. And I think it shows, like, you know, like you touched on before, of course it was flattering to be asked, but you can't sort of rest on that laurel either and go like, oh, they wanted me. And you've put in like such hard work to get there. And I think, and I'm so glad you touched on it because your vocals have taken this like giant step up. Like I just thought you were so phenomenal. And I listened to, you know, particularly the new song, I Just Want That Movie Ending, where you're doing these really high-pitched vocals in the chorus, and it sort of lips over almost like there's like a way that you almost yell it, but it doesn't sound like forced or difficult for you to get out. It's just like it's really different for you, and I really, really love that. I guess I want to touch on, like, how has the response been to the new tracks so far from old fans, new
Yeah, I think
everything?
yeah, it's a good question, because I think when I joined Blood Command, I think people thought, oh, cool, like this is like a new version of Pagan kind
Yeah, they're
of.
gonna start
So
screaming.
yeah, so when they heard like a villain's monologue, they heard my voice being used a bit differently, but still screaming.
Yeah.
Whereas we've released a few tracks. We released The End Is Her, which is more of a ballad, and then I Just Want That Movie Ending, and in between that, Nuns, Guns and Cowboys. Nuns, Guns and Cowboys had more screaming on it though, so I think people felt a bit more, oh, okay, this is the Nikki we know. So with the pop songs, people have reacted really positively. But also I think people have been quite surprised.
Yeah, of course. I was definitely surprised.
And yeah, I not in like a rude way or anything, but I also don't really care what people think.
Hell yeah, that's
That's
healthy.
their opinion, and it's not up to them what I do. I love pushing myself as an artist, and I think if you're always just going to do the same thing, you're just never going to be able to grow. You're never going to become better. You're never going to know what it'll be like to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And I love pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Believe it or not, just going to Norway, never having met my band. I love taking a jump into the deep end. And, I think these are some of the best songs Blood Command's ever written. So I feel really honored to be able to sing on them. And yeah, I feel really proud of what I've done. And I'm proud of myself, and the band is proud of me. And that's all that matters to me.
Yeah.
Other people's opinions just, they don't have an impact on me anyway. But yeah, thankfully the response has been fantastic. But even if it hadn't have, I wouldn't care.
Yeah, keep going and go.
Not to sound cocky, but
Yeah.
I really wouldn't. I don't read comments. I don't give a fuck about what people think of my stuff. I do it because I love it.
I love that. It's a really healthy way to look at it. You touched on you like being out of your comfort zone. And although it feels like it would be a comfort zone for you being on stage, you got to hit the stage again late last year, and there's a string of shows coming up across European summer for you. You are such a phenomenal performer. Obviously haven't seen you perform with Blood Command, but have seen you perform with Pagan in the past, and anyone who's witnessed you knows you bring this wild energy. There's been some amazing comments I've seen on social media that people have said about you performing with Blood Command, like and slut drop until you die, and I just like, it's so great. I wanted to ask you, like, hitting the stage again in like a different format with different vocals and a different team behind you, have you approached it differently, and what does your performance look and feel like now with Blood Command?
Yeah, the thing that I've approached differently is that I don't do like anything with red wine anymore. That was a Pagan thing.
Yeah.
But like every musician in the world can relate to, it had been like 2 years since I'd been on stage. Like, so many musicians have these horrible stories about how long it's been since they've been able to do what they love because of COVID. And, that was really tough. But I was just so grateful that I actually got to, because we were meant to actually do 36 shows supporting Kvalertak, who are a Norwegian band, for those who don't know. They're amazing guitar band, great vocalist, amazing band from Norway. And we have had the privilege of my first shows ever were the supporting Kvalertak on tour with Blood Command. And I felt immense pressure because not only was it my first shows with Blood Command, but it was the first shows I'd done in like 2 years, and the first shows that I'd done with these brand new songs that I'd never sung, and
36
Blood Command's
of them.
catalog, and like it was just a lot of factors that went into me feeling very, very scared about it, but really excited as well. And I always think if you're nervous, nerves only come if you're underprepared. So I thought, if I over prepare, what do I have to be nervous about?
Hell yeah.
So by the time it got to us doing the shows, we were meant to do 36 shows with Caval Attack, but Norway went into lockdown.
Oh.
So we used that time very wisely, and in the future you'll be able to see what we have up our sleeves. I can't share that just yet, but we used the time very, very wisely when those dates were cancelled. We did end up getting to do about a week of tour in Sweden and Finland, which was just incredible. I've never been to either of those amazing countries. And the first show we did was in Sweden, and I was absolutely like terrified that I'd just, I was worried I'd like lost my like stage presence, because I didn't even remember what it felt like to be on stage. The second I walked on, I was just like, I fucking got this.
Yeah.
And I just approached it in the way that I always did. Like I just, was super prepared with the songs, and, I just really fed off the audience, which I do. A lot of my performance is very organic, and I don't plan a lot of stuff. I also plan some things, as you have to do, when I'm going to talk or when I'm going to, have time to drink or whatever. But I went into it feeling really confident, really nervous, but really confident. And I just had the best time. Like I looked at the guys on stage and I felt like I was home, and I felt like I'd been playing with them for years, and they felt the same about me. And, we got off stage and we were celebrating, and we were like, that was the best. And I only made like one fuck up, which no one cared about. And we were like, loved it. And then Ingvar, my guitarist, pulls out his phone, and someone has written a comment to us saying, too bad your new singer looks like a Russian hooker. And I was like, I think that is a compliment.
Yeah, you're like, thank you so much.
Yeah, and the sad thing about that comment is I know exactly who it was who said it, because I saw the girl. If looks could kill, I would have been murdered 10 times over. And she was in the front row, and she stormed off in disgust with the guy she was standing with, and they both stormed off in a huff, because I'd come on with a jacket on, and I took my jacket off, and I was wearing a sports bra, and I was just having a great time. And I don't know, that offended her. So that's really sad for her, because for me, I was just having a great time, and people should be able to wear what they want on stage and dance how they want to dance. There should be no rules. And that's how I always approach everything. There's no rules at our shows. You should come no matter what age, race, however you identify yourself, your sexuality, nothing. There should never, ever be rules. And that also goes for the way you move on stage. Just because you're in a heavy band, you don't have to only head bang. You can fucking slut drop if you want to slut drop.
Hell yeah.
No, that's the way I was trained to dance. I like dancing, so I'm going to dance how I want to dance. So yeah, it's like been a great thing that I've found myself again on stage, and like nothing's changed since the Pagan days. I feel even more at home, if anything.
Oh, so beautiful. Look, I know that there's an album coming out. We've had a couple of singles, and I know that you probably can't really say much, but I apologize in advance for asking this question, but like, is there any chance that we might be seeing Blood Command in Australia at some point soon?
The question gets asked a lot, and it's a good question. And yes, there's a chance. There is a chance. I can't confirm anything, but we have to, and we all know that. And it's a bit of that cliche, like, oh, when are you coming to Brazil? That kind of thing. So sometimes we're like, we don't know, but with Australia, it's extra special. And a question that Australians ask, because I'm Australian and people know me from Pagan, and I'm actually still living in Australia right now too. Even though I'm moving to Norway in I think 4 weeks, so it's very scary and exciting. But yeah, it's a great question, but I promise we will be doing it for sure.
Awesome. And tell me, last question I want to touch on. Tell me a little bit about the album, Praise Armageddonism. You've just touched on earlier, it was pre-recorded quite some time ago, written quite some time ago. You've gone in, re-recorded vocals. You've heard a few songs so far. It's out July 1st. What are you most excited about with this album? What songs are you most excited that we haven't heard yet? Honestly, free reign. talk about it?
Yeah, I love that question. This is a great question. The thing that most excites me about it are the opening and the closing tracks of
Oh
the
my
album.
God, Nikki, you don't know me well,
Yeah.
but that's the biggest thing for me on an album. Like an album to me is like, how does it open and how does it close and what's the story in between? Like
Yes.
I'm not a playlist person. I'm at albums, like press play, listen to the whole thing to the end. So
Me too.
I fucking love that. Go.
Yes, so you will, if that's what you like, you're already going to enjoy this album. The first time I ever heard the album, because obviously I heard the album before I recorded it, I was like in tears over the first and the last tracks. They're so innovative and special, and they sum up Blood Command in this way that nothing else ever really has. Ingvar always says this album is the most Blood Command sounding album of all Blood Command albums. It's like, so the pop stuff is more pop, the heavy stuff is more heavy. And we really play on a lot of the Blood Command have also had a bit of a running theme with the Heaven's Gate movement, which has often been referred to as a cult, which is Marshall Applewhite started this movement. And there's a really famous story about how they all, a lot of the members died, which is really sad. They all laid in bunk beds wearing Nike decades, and they put blankets over their heads, and they all died at the same time. And I'm covering the story very quickly. It's a very interesting story. There's an HBO documentary on Heaven's Gate too, if you want to watch it. A lot of the references, and a lot of references that from Blood Command lyrics and themes are to do with Heaven's Gate. So this album touches on that a lot, and it's a lot of themes about us and our band being a safe space for people to come with us, and if you're part of our sort of movement, then you'll always be included no matter who you are, sort of thing. And we've created our own sort of term for our fans called the Awake Team. Heaven's Gate having had the Away Team, so it's like that's really touched on in this album. And it's, for me, I love those themes. I've always been interested in those themes myself. Even Pagan always played on the cult thing, for lack of a better word, and that's why this is so special to me. It just feels so right. When I heard the album, I just knew I was going to do the songs justice, and I've helped make them even more Nikki sound. Like, it's really, I bring the punk element to some of the poppier songs. And so it's really, I'm really excited for people to hear it. I think that it's going to be a big step up for Blood Command. And for me as a musician personally, I am so privileged that I've been able to sing these songs. And it was just the most amazing process recording it, when I was in Melbourne and they were in Bergen, and it's just been a really special journey, and I can't wait for everyone to hear it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we can't wait. Praise Armageddonism is available for pre-order now. It is out on July 1st. Keep your eyes on Blood Command and Queen Nikki for all that they're going to achieve in 2022. Honestly, thank you so much for your time, Nikki, and fingers crossed.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Fingers crossed.
And I love that, Queen Nikki.
Yeah,
everyone can call me that from now on if they want.
I'm starting another movement, Queen Nikki. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Good luck for album release, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.